Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time, episode number 805. Damian Nelson standing alongside David Octavius the Tiberius, the alleged backyard, one-time knockout, straight-edge, hardcore Hall of Famer hero, and it is Be the Booker for WWE's Payback, which is this Sunday on pay-per-view.
Yes, it is.
And what you know, or what we do in this segment, is we go through and fantasy book, if you will, the pay-per-view event. And we are going to be going through here on Prime Time a series of matches before we continue with this journey on Feedback Friday. So, David Hero, without further ado, let's get right down to it and talk about the Tag Team Championships from Raw that are on the line as the Hardys will defend against Sheamus?
Sheamus. Yeah.
Sheamus. I see what you did there.
That's not bad, right? That works.
I enjoy it.
Uh-huh.
So what do you think happens in this matchup with the newly crowned champions of the Hardys?
It's very interesting for me because Matt and Jeff have singles victories over Cesaro and Sheamus, which normally logic would say that Sheamus should beat the Hardys for the tag belts.
That sounds like one of my cousins, Sheamus.
Okay, I mean, I have never met your cousins, but
Sheamus and Shaquiqui.
Shaquiqui. I heard about her.
Her real name's Shaquita. You heard about Bone Quiqui.
Yes.
Bon Quiqui.
Interesting individual that she was. So, Hardy Boys, Sheamus, Hardys, they're not coming in for a one and done. They're going to be in here for a little while. They're going to get the money. They're going to get their money's worth out of them because they just came out with new T-shirts. Right?
They're nice shirts, by the way.
They are. And Matt and Jeff are over. They get one of the biggest pops of Raw. And I honestly believe that Matt and Jeff retain.
Really?
But I expect a heel turn out of Sheamus.
Because of the handshakes of the last 2 weeks?
It's just too kabuki-ish. I don't buy it. Sheamus is a heel by heart. And they're going to be frustrated if they lose again to the Hardys.
Does that then break Matt Hardy?
No, not yet.
Not yet?
Not yet.
When shall he become broken?
I would say after the next month or so.
How did you feel about Maxwell being featured on WWE.com?
Why
in
not?
A photo shoot with Matt Hardy.
But why not?
They're doing everything about this broken. Matt Hardy was even doing the delete gimmick this past Monday night on Raw.
Yeah.
They're doing everything but going full broken on this. They're letting it simmer.
But it's good to see Matt and Maxwell.
Why?
Because it's a feel-good moment.
Why?
Because it establishes Matt going into the broken brand.
How?
The doting dad, and then eventually the character gets squashed.
Will there be a Rebby?
Probably not.
Will there be a, what was Daddy's name?
Senior Benjamin?
Senor?
Senor? I hope so. What's so funny about that?
Well, I'm a little surprised you couldn't say it properly. Senior Benjamin? Senor
I said
Benjamin.
Senor Benjamin.
You said senior, like a citizen.
He is.
Next matchup, folks, is for the SmackDown. Well, we don't know, actually. We can't figure out if this is for the SmackDown Championship or not, so we're going to say that it is. It's a House of Horrors match.
HOH, kind of like House of Hardcore?
Kind of
my
like.
Good God Almighty.
Randy Orton from SmackDown. Keep in mind, this is a Raw pay-per-view, but due to the shake-up of a couple of weeks ago between Raw and SmackDown,
You like
Randy
shake-ups?
Orton will be defending his championship, or he will be wrestling in a matchup against Bray Wyatt. Now, what's interesting,
They've never said it's for the championship.
nor have they really told us what this match is.
Yes.
Which I think is good. It builds some intrigue, and we'll find out on Sunday. But it's going to make it difficult for you, David, to figure out what would happen in this matchup.
If it's up to me, and if I'm in creative,
And in this case, you are.
and I am, it's simple. It's Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt in a Kabuki no-holds-barred match. Anything goes.
Okay.
Okay.
Just with a fancy title.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, there's going to be weapons and nonsense and shenanigans.
WMDs?
Yes, exactly. Or the mother of all bombs, the Moabs will be there. Which tells me one thing. If the title's on the line, and you want to give Bray Wyatt a nice jump start, send out Jinder Mahal to help Bray Wyatt, to then establish him as a top heel against Randy Orton.
Because Jinder on SmackDown this past Tuesday, hey, basically, remember me? We've got a matchup at Backlash.
Bray Wyatt defeats Randy Orton with the help of Jinder Mahal, which then sets up more heat for the Jinder Mahal-Randy Orton program, and then elevates Bray Wyatt to the top of Raw.
That's very interesting what you did there, David Hero. I like it.
Yeah, me too.
Randy Orton could have been distracted. He could have been not focused. He didn't know what the match is. Everything's set up in this situation for Randy Orton to lose, isn't it?
It really is.
Which means it shouldn't be and probably is not, even though our confusion is there, for the championship.
It should be, and I don't know why it wouldn't be, but if they want, but it makes sense if Bray Wyatt is now on Raw. You can't, because if you notice, they have yet to say if Bray Wyatt wins, he goes back to SmackDown.
Yeah. Well, they're making that point in another matchup with Jericho and Owens.
Yes, they are.
It's interesting. Next up is the Raw Women's Championship. It will be Bayley versus Alexa Bliss. Bayley versus Alexa Bliss. David Hero, what do you think in 1 minute or less?
1 minute or less, I'm going with Alexa Bliss. There's no way she's not going to beat Bayley. She knows how to lie, cheat, and steal. She's crafty. She's going to outsmart Rainbow Bright.
But it's been Bayley's dream since she was a 12-year-old girl to be champion and be a superstar in WWE.
But she's going to lose in her hometown.
Oh, she did mention that it is in her hometown on Sunday at Payback. Bayley, she's getting stale in a lot of people's minds. I was live tweeting during Raw and SmackDown this week. You were as well, David Hero, and a lot more negativity as it pertains to Bayley than we've seen in recent weeks. And we talked about a couple weeks ago on this program that persona is got a shelf life.
Hey, the girls and the kids, the kids and the young girls, the teenage girls love Bayley, and even some pedophile type dudes like Bayley also. But the thing is that the goody gumdrop promos are getting old.
They are. They have gotten old, folks. That is the first leg of Be the Booker here on Prime Time. Be the Booker continues tomorrow on Feedback Friday.
Oh, I want to finish now.
No. It is indeed time for the Pro Wrestling Report Fantasy Draft, and I'm so proud, David, to have been a multi-year draft winner sitting here with you. And because you are a loser, you should get used to this every year. You do get the first pick.
Yeah.
We're going to be picking numbers 1 and 2 here in this segment, and then over the course of the show, we're going to pick more. Then we're going to pick more on Primetime Extra, the podcast, and we're going to pick more on Feedback Friday tomorrow with the number 10 pick, which is the wild card pick. So quickly, the rules, as was told to me earlier. You can pick anybody you want, but it must be 5 representatives from each of the Raw and SmackDown rosters so that you don't screw yourself over because they have an equal number somewhat of pay-per-views each year. You can pick tag teams. You can pick factions. You can pick individuals. You can pick announcers. You can pick referees. You can pick part-timers. You can pick whoever you want. It just must be 5 and 5. So with that, let's go to the very first pick of the 2017 PWR Fantasy Draft, and that pick goes to the loser, David Hero.
All right, that's simple. I got it. AJ Styles.
AJ Styles is your first pick.
Yes.
All right, super. Ladies and gentlemen, my first pick in the fantasy draft is none other than Braun Strowman.
That's my dude.
Yeah, then maybe you should have picked him first when you just had the chance to pick him first. If he's your dude, why didn't you pick him first? I didn't take him. I picked him.
That's a bunch of crap.
You haven't liked him at all this year. He's my number 1. You picked AJ Styles. I picked Braun Strowman. You could have picked him yourself, Mr. Trump.
This is ridiculous.
I'm sure it is. How about your number 2 pick,
I want a recount.
There will be no recount.
Why not?
Because you picked it yourself. It was your own words.
But that's not what you're supposed to do.
Whoa.
Fine.
What's your number 2?
Number 2.
He screwed himself. David screwed David.
Kevin Owens.
KO, Kevin Owens, KO style.
Yeah. This is ridiculous.
Now that's both are from SmackDown. Very important to remember, David Hero. I picked a Raw superstar. Now I'm gonna, as I'm fair and balanced here, I'm gonna pick a SmackDown superstar, and that SmackDown superstar, ladies and gentlemen, is Baron Corbin.
You freaking kidding me? You're taking all my giants. You know what?
Ladies and gentlemen, again, to review the rules here in the draft. We each have our pick. We each have a roster in front of us. We can pick whomever we want from that roster. I just happen to know how to pick to win.
My emails.
I did not solicit any.
I had scouting reports on all these guys.
Did you? Then why didn't you pick them? Why did you pick AJ Styles first if you wanted Braun Strowman first?
I didn't want Braun Strowman first. I figured he'd be that number 2 or 3.
What's it going to be like when we get to the wild card pick number 10, which was picked for you tomorrow on Feedback Friday?
What do you mean it's picked for me?
Number 10. Both of our number 10s. We don't pick. We'll pick them randomly out of a hat.
Oh, I don't care about that. As long as you're not making my 10 pick.
Ladies and gentlemen, the draft picks continue here on Primetime.
Well,
but before we get to that, it's time actually to talk about WWE Raw from this past week. And WWE Raw, of course, was headlined by the matchup of Braun Strowman versus Kalisto in a dumpster match.
I can't concentrate right now.
And my number 1 draft pick, Braun Strowman, ladies and gentlemen, came up on a losing effort to Kalisto in that matchup. However,
I really want to punch you right now.
That did not matter because Braun Strowman still walked out of Raw the bigger man.
Well, he's a giant.
He's
a monster.
But he got beat by Kalisto, and a lot of people were upset by that.
Why? It's a gimmick match. They don't. Remember when Sheamus beat John Cena for the title in a tables match. All it did was put the belt on Sheamus. Didn't hurt John Cena. He wasn't pinned or submit. Okay? Remember when Cody Rhodes beat Big Show at WrestleMania in the tables match when he fell through the table?
Vividly. Cody Rhodes endorsed.
He finally got his WrestleMania moment.
Yeah.
So these types of gimmick matches don't mean anything because you really never lose. I lost in this draft because you stole my guy.
Yes.
Who would take Braun Strowman #1?
Me, this guy. I would take Braun Strowman #1. Why didn't you take Braun Strowman? You are screwing yourself, and you will continue to screw yourself. But back to Braun Strowman, I thought the match was incredibly entertaining on Monday, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
And this also made clear by Jim Ross in this week's Ross Report podcast.
I'm shoot hot.
Braun Strowman never left his feet. He lost by putting himself upright in the dumpster.
The only problem I had with that match was it took too long. I mean, let's face it. Kalisto is 2 inches taller than a midget, okay? And Braun Strowman should have dominated him. Why didn't he use that violence when he lost to start the match? Here's the other thing I didn't like. Kalisto is in the backstage telling Kurt Angle how he's not garbage. He's a man. He's going to fight. Okay, awesome.
New look, new music.
Have that fire. What does he do when he comes out? His stupid dance. His ass should have been running down to the ring to fight, not dancing before. If you really want to beat somebody up, don't dance. Go straight to the ring and fight him. Agreed?
Agreed. What closing message, do you have to the fans out there who still, even after what you just said, may not fully understand why Braun Strowman's loss to Kalisto does not matter?
Just rewind and watch it all over again. Makes perfect sense.
Did you expect Kalisto to win officially in this matchup?
You know what? I honestly thought Reigns was going to come out and Superman punch Braun Strowman into the dumpster. You know, because, again, it's a gimmick match, and they don't mean anything, especially when there's no titles involved.
Well, folks, there will be titles involved this Sunday.
And here's the thing
Payback.
also. If it's a true dumpster match, you're supposed to slam the lid down on top also.
Ooh, that is true.
That never happened.
What about the flight that Kalisto took off the stage some 2 or 3 feet to the ground?
That was interesting. That must have frickin' hurt. I ain't gonna lie.
There's a lot of percussion and whatever. You know what I recently learned about car collisions, head-on car collisions? It's not the collision or the impact or you hitting something that messes you up.
Yeah.
It's the sudden stoppage of your internal organs.
It's always a sudden stop.
That really does you damage. So Kalisto, they did it well. They presented it well. I thought this.
Well, I mean, he's small enough where he could fit in anything.
Ladies and gentlemen, you saw that. That means it is time for our next draft picks here in the 2017 PWR Fantasy Draft. I last picked Baron Corbin. David, it's time for your number 3 pick in the draft. And just so you know, you've picked 2 SmackDown stars. You've got 3 of those remaining and 5 Raw stars. Guy. I took your guy. Yeah, you had the first pick in the draft. You didn't take your guy is the core
Let's go Roman Reigns.
Roman Reigns. David Hero selects Roman Reigns as his number 3 draft pick. Well, okay. I can see that. I can see that. Ladies and gentlemen, my number 3 draft pick is Finn Balor. Did you just snicker?
You're taking a cruiserweight at number 3?
He's not a cruiserweight. He's a Raw superstar.
Okay.
Yes, and he is my number 3.
Okay.
And now it is time for your number 4, David Hero.
Easy.
Who are you picking as your number 4?
Seth Rollins.
Seth Rollins, you pick as your number 4. I will give you credit. Your 2 picks in round 2 here has been good, comparatively speaking to your disaster in round 1. But it is time for my number 4 draft pick, ladies and gentlemen. And my number 4 draft pick here in the 2017 Pro Wrestling Report Fantasy Draft will be the Hardys, Matt and Jeff Hardy. Sure enough.
Wow.
The tag team back again. Whoop, there it is.
Whoop, there it is.
Yes. Now, that's picks 3 and 4. Let's go through the roster as it is right now, as it sits, as it stands. On the team of the Friends, the Super Friends, if you will. AJ Styles, Kevin Owens, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins. Got to give you a little credit there. That's a good list, but it does not trump my list, which is comprised of Braun Strowman, Baron Corbin, Finn Balor, and the Hardys.
Your first 2 picks are guys I have been praising that you
I became a Braun Strowman guy last week.
It.
I became a Braun Strowman and Baron Corbin. See, I prepared for the draft. I prepared, knew who was. Look at all this. I've got all kinds of highlights and paperwork, and I am ready, David Hero. I got phones here just in case I need to call anybody.
I'm very frustrated.
I am ready.
Right now.
I know you're frustrated, but you got a few minutes to think about it because it is time now to go to Linda Kay with this week's Event Center.
Welcome to the Event Center. I'm Linda Kay. Backlash weekend kicks off in Chicago with NXT TakeOver Chicago Saturday night, ringside with Jim Ross Sunday afternoon, followed by the Backlash pay-per-view Sunday night, May 21st. Details are available at WWE.com.
Hi gang, Mean Gene Okerlund here on My 24, and you're watching the Pro Wrestling Report. All of the news about wrestling, not only here in Milwaukee, but throughout the world. Stay up to date. Join us every Saturday night.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, Pro Wrestling Report, primetime Saturday night, episode number 805. Damian Nelson sitting alongside David Hero. Wow, we've done a lot so far, only halfway through this program, including Be the Booker, the first half of it anyways,
amazing.
And the first 4 picks of the PWR Fantasy Draft, the 2017 version of the Fantasy Draft, David Hero. I am so happy to have both Braun Strowman and Baron Corbin on my team, joining Finn Balor and the Hardys. More picks coming up in just a second, but before we do that, let's get to this week's WWE SmackDown Report, which is brought to you by Fight TV. That's F-I-T-E, Fight TV. Fight TV is a place where you can get action from Ring of Honor Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, and our weekly episodes of the Pro Wrestling Report. Simply go to the website on your screen, fight.tv/PWR, to download the free app and watch our shows on demand. With that, SmackDown this past Friday, no, that's old school, past Tuesday, ended with a big attack on Charlotte and Naomi by what appears to be a new female faction in WWE.
The trilogy
of Natalya, Tamina, and Carmella. Attacking both Charlotte and Naomi.
And I think it's great because Natty is established. Carmella's been really uneventful, even with Ellsworth. And then Tamina's now back, and she needs a big jump start also. I think it's the Mean Girls, and I think they'll be a great...
The Mean Girls?
For lack of better description, a good threesome, you know?
Where does Chris Ellsworth, that's a person I know who lives in Las Vegas, where does James Ellsworth fall in this whole scenario?
Oh, he's gonna be the purse bitch.
But just because you didn't get your little draft picks that you wanted doesn't mean you have to start spewing unacceptable language here on television in Milwaukee.
But it's not. It's
a purse.
Yeah,
like a dog of some sort. You're referring to him as?
You can call him a suitcase pimp if that's better.
I've never heard that term.
Really?
No.
Google it.
I Bing actually.
Oh, I'm sure you do.
Folks, that is SmackDown. Now, we haven't talked much about Raw or SmackDown due to time constraints here on the broadcast, but
they did a great job with those girls.
They did.
They had a great match.
With those girls.
Charlotte and Naomi did great.
They did, and our conversation will continue about more on Raw and SmackDown in the Primetime Extra podcast, which is available for free and also available at pwrshow.com. You can listen to more of our thoughts on the podcast, especially of what happened on Raw and SmackDown. But another point you wanted to make about SmackDown, David Hero, was the fact that Breeze Dango, as you call them, got a win over the Usos.
They did, and SmackDown has done nothing but establish new stars. They're doing that. They did it with Breezango. They did it with Jinder Mahal. They did it now with Tamina and Carmella, elevating them. Everyone is now starting to mean something on the SmackDown brand, which does not happen on Monday Night Raw.
Why the difference, though? Why do we see this deliberate action on SmackDown versus what we're seeing on Raw on Monday nights?
Because I think SmackDown is a little more creative. They realize they need to create stars. John Cena's non-existent.
And no one really has noticed, have they?
Well, yeah, because now they're trying to create new people.
I mean, the show hasn't been lacking without him.
AJ Styles has picked up the John Cena slack. He is now the #1 babyface on SmackDown.
That he is. But did you happen to catch what happened between Styles and your dear friend Baron Corbin on Talking Smack?
It was great. I mean, yeah.
They had a match earlier on
yes.
SmackDown by which AJ Styles got the win. And Baron Corbin not too pleased with that, and it took out his frustrations
Corbin
on
is
Styles.
the best talent coming out of NXT that was not a wrestler previous to going there.
What did he do before?
Pro football.
Really?
Yeah.
Baron Corbin had some struggles in NXT as well.
He did, but I mean, look at him.
Yeah.
He's a top guy right now.
And a lot of people may not understand or realize this as well, but Baron Corbin came up, for the most part, under the tutelage of one Billy Gunn. Down
I remember
in
2
NXT.
years ago, Billy told me he's going to be a star. He's big. He's got an attitude, and you know when your mentor is Billy Gunn, a guy that has drawn money, who is a legit 6'6" guy, and you teach other 6'7", 6'8" guys how to work big, oh, it's a home run.
As a matter of fact, right now on the PrimeTime podcast, available on iTunes, Android, wherever else you get podcasts, we have an exclusive interview that we conducted over WrestleMania weekend with Billy Gunn, where he actually gives his latest thoughts, rather, on one Baron Corbin, and has a lot to say about him in that interview. So with that, SmackDown is in the books, if you will, and well, David Hero, that means it is now time for yet another fantasy draft pick. It's time to pick our numbers 5 and 6.
Okay.
And David Hero, I last picked the Hardys in the last segment, which means pick number 5 goes out to you right now.
And that is going to be Nakamura.
Oh, really? You're picking a quote-unquote cruiserweight.
No, he's not. He's at least 230 pounds.
I'm sure. What monitor are you watching it on?
The big screen.
Shinsuke Nakamura. Why?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, the fans love him. That's the people's pick right there.
The people's pick.
The people's pick. Because if he sucks, I blame every one of them out there that said he was great.
Oh, like you blamed everyone out there for... No, actually, you blamed Apollo Crews directly for
Apollo
not
Crews,
scoring any points last year.
Be on a pay-per-view, not a pre-show once in a while.
Ladies and gentlemen, my number 5 draft pick in the 2017 PWR Fantasy Draft is the endorsed Miz.
Wow.
Yep, and with him I get Maurice.
Well, you can have both of them.
I took both of them. I have both of them.
Okay.
So, David, you've now got 3 from SmackDown and 2 from Raw. It is now time for your next pick for the PWR Draft. It is your number 6 pick, David Hero. Who will it be and why?
Randy Orton.
You hear voices in your
I
head.
do. The current SmackDown heavyweight champion of the world.
Randy Orton
from
SmackDown. Your number 4 pick from SmackDown. Your number 6 pick overall.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's some longevity there?
Oh, he has at least a good year. You don't like Randy Orton at number 6?
No, I have no problem with Randy Orton. Randy Orton, who just pointed out on Twitter earlier this week that he's celebrating his 15-year anniversary in the wrestling business, and doesn't feel like it's been that long, but at times it feels like it's been that long.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Randy Orton, I'll give you that as a good pick, ladies and gentlemen. I'm also impressed by your pick of Nakamura. But ladies and gentlemen, my next pick on the PWR Fantasy Draft will be coming from the SmackDown side of things, and I'm going to take both Chad Gable and Jason Jordan in the American Alpha.
Wow, you love your tag teams, don't you?
Well, I'm maximizing my picks. Because I get points if one or both of them appear.
Okay.
I don't get double points, but I do get points. You're just jealous because you didn't pick them, right?
Not at all.
So at our number 6 pick, we're actually even here, David Hero. You've picked 4 from SmackDown and 2 from Raw.
Yeah.
I have picked 4 from Raw and 2 from SmackDown here in this case.
How about
so
that?
with that, you know what?
What's that?
Let's continue. Actually, no, I'm going to give you an opportunity to settle down, cool down a little bit because
I'm rolling right now.
you've recovered a little bit, yes.
Well, I mean, I'm not pleased you stole 2 of my guys.
How did I steal? Who had the number 1 pick?
I
Who
did.
had the chance to pick first? From
But who would ever
anybody
take
out
Braun
there?
Strowman number
From
1?
I did. That's why.
You never would have taken him last year.
No, I wouldn't have taken him last week. But I took him this time. You left the door open. I walked right in.
Still not pleased about that.
I'm sure you're not. But let's get to this week's spoken word of one David Hero. With this week's, are you going to be able to come up with a DWHS to share with the world?
Yes,
David Hero
absolutely.
has spoken?
Yes, I can.
Well, then
yes,
take
I
it away,
can.
David.
And this week's DWHS is about the SmackDown brand and how they're developing stars. Jinder Mahal, Natty, Tamina. Everyone is now starting to mean something. Everyone's being elevated. Breezango. Look at all these lower mid-card talents that were doing jobs to everybody for the last 6 months to a year, now making a difference. Say what you want about Jinder Mahal. He showed fire and passion. He looks great, he can talk, and he can definitely go. I think his program with Randy Orton is going to draw money, because remember what happened with JBL and John Cena. JBL, who would have thought he'd become a world champion, and he did. Jinder Mahal, I think with the Bollywood boys, has huge potential to become the SmackDown heavyweight champion. And with that, David Hero has spoken.
That is well said, David Hero. I appreciate that effort. And you know what? We're going to continue here going along with another pick on the 2017 PWR Fantasy Draft. It's time for pick number 7, which will be the final pick here on Primetime, David Hero. I last picked the American Alpha.
Yes.
Over on the SmackDown side of things. You have one more person to pick from SmackDown and up to 3 more talents from Raw. Who's it going to be?
Bray Wyatt.
Bray Wyatt is your number 7 pick, along with, well, he doesn't have a championship. Bray Wyatt from Raw. At round, it's your 3rd pick on Raw. Ladies and gentlemen, my next pick, number 7, here in the 2017 PWR Fantasy Draft is going to come from the SmackDown side of things, and that pick will be Charlotte Flair.
Of course.
She was my number 2 point winner last year.
I know.
There's no doubt to think that she won't do it on the blue brand this year. So that's my 3rd SmackDown. Charlotte, a repeat performer.
If I had taken Charlotte instead of Bray Wyatt, who would you have taken on that spot?
I wouldn't have taken Bray Wyatt. Who if I would have taken? I'm not going to reveal that because that could be my number 8 pick.
Oh.
Huh. You're trying to cheat here.
No, I'm just asking.
You're trying to trick me into telling you who my next pick is so you can take my next pick. Because as you look at these rosters, you know you are SCREWED screwed.
No, not at all. Your top 2 picks are great. Your number 4 is solid.
The roster of the Nelson family, ladies and gentlemen, here as we close out Primetime. Braun Strowman, Baron Corbin, Finn Balor, the Hardys, The Miz, American Alpha, and Charlotte. And David Hero, who rounds out the Mighty Mouse Club so far?
Oh, AJ Styles and Kevin Owens, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Nakamura, Randy Orton, and Bray Wyatt. We're here.
You have 1 more pick from SmackDown, 2 more picks from Raw. I've got 1 more pick from Raw and 2 more from SmackDown. The draft continues on the PWR Primetime Extra Podcast with our next pick, our number 8 picks, and then our number 9 and 10 picks come tomorrow on Feedback Friday, available on our YouTube channel and on Fight TV. Until then, for that one, this is Damian Nelson saying thank you so much for joining us here on the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime on Channel 14 in Milwaukee.